What even is a VinFast VF8? Hello, and welcome to a special episode of the Batteries Included podcast. I'm Dominic Ioni, and I am joined today by Francie, the host of the Out of Spec Podcast. She produces and puts out a ton of different podcasts featuring interviews with people from all over the electric vehicle space. But today, we're going to talk to her about her personal experience with the VinFast VF8. So, first, before I guess we start, we should say, some people watching might not know what VinFast is, right? So, VinFast really quickly is an automaker from Vietnam. They just started up in 2017. They were founded by Pham Nhat Vuong. I believe, hopefully I'm saying that properly. And they started off with making a couple like gasoline internal combustion vehicles licensed from BMW or something. And then more recently, they've moved into electric vehicle space. I think their intention was always to be like an electric vehicle auto manufacturer, but they wanted to, learn how to make automobiles, the traditional way with internal combustion engines first. At least that's the story. And so it's kind of an interesting story. There's this billionaire, the guy who founded the company in Vietnam. He got his money through freeze-dried noodles. It's like the foundation of his wealth, basically, right?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a bizarre story. It goes over to the Ukraine and it comes back to Vietnam, where he got invested in a lot of real estate and different things there, and he's just developed this huge company with verticals in all different parts of the economy. There's a lot of real estate, tourism, and resorts. This automaker, he's got a university. There's hospitals. There's all kinds of things. A taxi company, which kind of feeds into the VinFast thing a little bit. So it's an interesting company. So they've decided to get into the electric vehicle space, and now they're here and they're selling one electric vehicle here right now, with more on the way. They're also building a plant. Like a manufacturing plant in North Carolina, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. Near where we picked it up in Cary, Cary, North Carolina is where the dealership was, Leith VinFast, that we picked up the VinFast VF8 Eco Trim. And then, nearby they are building a manufacturing plant, I guess. Yeah.
Right. So this is like a newbie company. This guy doesn't really have the founder doesn't have like a deep history in automaking or auto anything really, right? So he's hired a lot of people kind of do this thing for him. And so like the VF8 came out to the market, was it last year it debuted? And
I think that we were able to get reviews done before then, and then it finally came on the market to actually be in the hands of people in North America. Earlier this year.
And how would you characterize the reviews?
Oh, it was touted as one of the worst reviewed electric vehicals available when it first came out. I mean, that was typically either you'd never heard of VinFast, or if you had, it had a bad review that you watched. Right. I think the first ones that came out and folks got a hold of were, I mean, I don't know. I didn't write in it, so I would love to be able to compare that first one from this. But of course, I can look at videos. But it was not great reviews. Got to say, it started not strong.
Right. Well, I had the opportunity to actually drive one before it came over here. I went over on a trip to Vietnam. The company brought a whole pile of different journalists and investors over the course of the year a couple of years ago, and I was on one of those first trips, and we drove it, and man, it was. Right then, it was like, this is not fully baked. It just didn't feel, the controls didn't feel quite proper. It really wasn't there at all. So, but a lot has happened since then. That was like early development, and it's obviously a lot better than that. It's on the market now. It got terrible reviews, but I feel like maybe your ownership experience, has been a lot more positive than some of these other reviews. So I just wanted to talk about what they have now and how it's developed over time, because these also get software updates, or can get software updates. So they can improve over time as well. And VinFast also has other vehicles coming that people are kind of looking forward to. They have the 3-row VF9 coming, and they have a little tiny VF3 with a little tiny battery. It's pretty cute. It's kind of tempting. It's about low range, but anyway, we can talk about that later. But let's talk about your VF8. So you see this new electric vehicle comes to America. It gets the worst reviews ever, and you go ahead and get one.
Yeah. So
How does that work?
basically, Kyle found out from, I think, a friend in North Carolina that there, and maybe online, even on the forums, that there was this crazy inexpensive lease deal for VinFast VF8s 2023 in specifically the Eco trim out of this dealership in North Carolina. So it was a specific dealership option, and it was advertised as $0 down, $250 a month for a 3-year lease of a VinFast VF8. So it was kind of just like, okay, Francie, you're on the Out of Spec team now. This is going to be your company car. It's kind of, do they haze at Out of Spec? Not so sure, but this is the car that I was given. So, we drove over, Kyle and I, and got it from the dealership and just took advantage of that offer. Of course, fine print means that it really isn't $0 down, $250 a month. There's the upfront fee, whatever fees they throw in the beginning. And then also it's just more expensive than that. I don't think any kind of marketing and leases is honest when you first look at it. Right. It's to get you in the door. And then it was still a pretty good lease, I would say, for a car that, like you said, it has these reviews, but also it's been like a neutrally positive experience, I'd say, so far. So it's definitely quirky and glitchy, and we can, get into all of that. But right after we picked the VF8 up, I road tripped it from North Carolina to Tennessee, 800 miles, and the Out of Spec Motoring channel has that in 2 parts. We did it alongside a Tesla Model Y Performance. So not on purpose, really. It was just the case, but then we did get to compare. So it immediately took me very far. And this summer, I will be taking it out to Colorado as well and car camping in it and stuff. So have some fun summer plans. But yeah, it's been about 5 months since we've had the VinFast VF8 lease.
That's a pretty good trip. So you're in Western Tennessee, right? Basically.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Okay. On the Mississippi River.
Okay. Oh, nice. So that first trip, was it like a big eye opener? Did you have like a lot of problems right off the bat, or what was your like first impressions of it?
First impressions. Yeah, I can remember because it was okay. If I'm trying to think about it, the software is definitely like a little clunky, I would say. A lot of EVs nowadays are made around the software, like software up, and they're very user friendly. And this was definitely designed a little differently, where you should, sit with every car that you get in and kind of figure things out. But this was, it has a lot of menus, it has a lot of drive aids, it has a lot of settings. And one thing that I noticed off the bat was, you can put it in eco mode, sport mode, just normal driving mode. And I was like, okay, I'll put it in eco mode. Let's see how this goes. But every time I would stop the car, it would reset. So like stop to turn the car off, quote unquote. It doesn't always turn all the way off. I noticed that otherwise it was pretty okay. Besides, we did a lot of fast charging on this road trip. So the battery got warm, and then we obviously made it warmer by plugging it into a DC fast charger. And at one point we saw, these EV batteries are rated to get pretty hot, but it was at maybe 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And it was saying, as it was plugged in, like, stop the car, battery is overheating, pull over. And it's like, wow. One, you are pulled over, sweetheart, and you're plugged into a charger, and you're not even really that hot. So that was interesting to see. And I think it kind of just highlights this theme throughout it, that there are errors that come up, but don't seem to be really like tied to anything detrimental. So the communication from the car is a little bit interesting. And it is just kind of, I would say it's quirky and working with the software that it has to like get all the signals from the car and then put them to the user in a way that works. It really watches you drive. Like, it can tell if you have your phone in your hand or if you're talking on the phone, and it'll say, hey, hands-free is better. So it has a lot of safety features as well. Some I do not like and some are good. But overall, the trip was fine, but we were noticing like what was different about it than other EVs that we drove, but there weren't really any issues. Like, there was nothing that made the car stop working. There was nothing that the car went into turtle mode or anything. It took me from point A to point B pretty darn well, alongside the Tesla Model Y with Jordan.
Oh, interesting. So just talk about charging for a little bit, because that's kind of it's one aspect of ownership, right? It's pretty important especially for road trips. So it actually gives you the battery temperature actually on the screen.
Yeah, it gives me the time until whatever percentage I've set for it to charge up to, the temperature and the battery, the miles that I have, the expected range, and the battery percentage. But it does not tell me how fast it's charging. So it doesn't give me kilowatts. So I can only get that from the charging station. So if the charging station doesn't have that, I also don't have that. Yes.
That's kind of a bummer, because you kind of want to see that how many I mean, it's nice to know. I mean, it's good to know, how long it's going to take, but it's also good to know, how many kilowatts if you want to just right, because you can once you're driving an EV for a while, that will give you some information, because you know what the car is rated for. If it's doing like a quarter of that when at a certain state of charge, maybe there's a problem and you'd be aware of, right?
And if you're sitting in the car, then you can have that information, because technically you might be able to get it from the station, but it should, I think it should be available to the driver right there on the screen with all those other metrics.
But it does have the battery temperature, which is pretty good, interesting to me, because my car I have a Tesla. I think I have to dig into some menus to find the battery temperatures and things like that.
Yes, it does have that right there.
Right, that's kind of neat. But you didn't have any trouble charging. You just got that message already. Do you still get that message?
I haven't gotten it since then. I haven't done a long road trip, so I wonder if it was a combination of getting quite warm on the road and then taking a quote unquote fast charge. Although the fastest that we see that we've ever seen it charge was like 120 kilowatts for like a second. It's usually hovering around like 70.
Really?
So that's not super great. It definitely is a slow charge, but otherwise we didn't have any issues. It is a CCS, car, so I have to use Electrify America, EVgo. We used Francis Power, so any of those CCS chargers, and those were fine too. We didn't have much trouble with those chargers along the way of that specific road trip, although that is not the same for everywhere else that there are DC fast chargers provided for public charging. There are definitely some hiccups that I've run into around where I live.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So how do you charge it at home? Do you have can you plug it in at your house?
No, and people will, I've said this before, and I promise there is no way that I can charge it where I live. It's just not possible. I can't throw a cord out the window, but people are always like, but really, have you tried? I'm like, I promise you I've tried. There's not a solution for me. Just be creative in your thinking. Yeah.
So you're out there foraging for electricity, basically.
I'm foraging for electricity. I am. And, I live in a city where my family lives. So I have some EV driver family members that technically I could charge where they are. But for a while I was like just using, but that takes, hours. So I'd have to leave the vehicle there. So I was like, okay, well, I guess the only really easy option I have right now is DC fast charging. But there, at this point in time, is only one CCS DC fast charger in the area in a 50-mile radius from where I live. And
that's crazy.
It's crazy. It's 4 stalls. One of them is CHAdeMO. And so it's 3 stalls. And then one of them has always been completely not working. And then there's usually 1 or 2 stalls working. So out of the 4 stalls for DC fast charging in the area, it's maybe 50% working 100% of the time. So it has been it's really such a shame. I meet people who depend on their EVs to make a living or a side gig for Lyft or Uber, and they are stuck using this. I have people passing through town that I've seen there that they're like, oh my God, where else can I go? And we're like, I don't know. It's a Sunday and the dealerships are closed, and that's the fastest, slower charge that you could get. But luckily there is a station coming in far more center to town. It is Electrify America as well. That other station is EA. So that is up, newer hardware. It's way more centrally located. There's more stalls. So hoping that will be put into place, but it has really opened my eyes to how little EV charging infrastructure there can be, even though a county has adopted, I think EV registrations grew 43% over the last year. So you got to catch up. But
I would have expected more of that and more charging in Tennessee. Like the other side of the state has Chattanooga, right, where they make the Volkswagen ID4. So
yeah,
there's a
it's
fair amount of electric vehicles in the state of Tennessee. Maybe not so much to the western side, but
they're
they're,
all over. I see
yeah,
Rivians
okay,
all the time, Mach E's, Ionic 5 and 6s. I see like Konas. It's I see it all really. I think it has to come down to the utilities in the state and the power available to it. I think that really is what it comes down to. And also, I think for a while, the way that Tennessee was charging for electricity was counter to what EV charging companies would really want. So I think that has
right,
also been an impediment. But Pilot Flying J is in Knoxville, I think, and Pilot Flying J is putting in stations EVgo chargers,
right.
all or in conjunction with EVgo. They're like Signet and Delta chargers with GM all across the country. So that's something. So yeah, just patiently waiting. But of course, now I have even more solutions. So I charge at a place out in the country where I go. I get faster charging than I do at my family members' garages. But I am still foraging a little bit, although I've found my paths to get it a lot easier at this point.
Okay. So, and you've had it for how many months have you had it now?
5, I think January to May.
Okay. And so, but how many miles have you put on it?
It has about 1,200 miles at this point. So not too many, but
Okay.
maybe that's a lot for some people.
I don't. So, do you use it like every day, or so you?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's the daily driver. Yeah.
Okay.
I had to wait a while for my tags, so I
Right.
wasn't super comfortable driving around with the very expired tags. But even though people are like, "Don't worry," I was like
Oh, well, don't
worried.
worry. Right.
But I've had the tags, and so yeah, it's my daily driver, which is good. And so it's just been around town like errands. I haven't taken it on any other road trips, so going to be putting a few more thousand miles on it this summer
Nice.
if all goes according to plan.
Right. So, what car were you driving previous to this one?
Subaru Outback.
Okay. About what year?
It's 2016 Subaru Outback, 3.6R. It's green. It's got light interior. Dream car. Absolutely.
Okay. So, this is a very different kind of vehicle than from that, right? The VF8.
Yeah.
So it's
I would
like
say
a
so.
mid-size SUV crossover, basically.
It's very spacious. Yeah.
Okay.
So, they're spacious in different ways. I think
Right.
the VinFast is a bit taller and shorter, and the Outback is longer, but also has a lot of room. But yeah, they are different. Not, of course, the combustion engine to the electric vehicle
Right.
is
There's all that too.
different, of course.
Right.
But yeah, they're different.
How's so how's the driving experience? Are you enjoying that at all?
Yeah,
Like the actual
I really
vehicle dynamics, like
yes. And I'll I'm not a car reviewer. I'll leave
Mhm.
that to my colleagues.
Mhm.
But I do enjoy driving it. It's a comfortable ride. It is a very heavy vehicle, so perhaps that's part of why it just feels so stable. Jordan and I have talked about that, and it floats along well. It has good assistance features, although right now I can't use like the highway assistance for some reason. It won't work. Also, I realized the buttons on my steering wheel aren't working right now. And I know when we first got the VinFast, we did have to like hard reset it a couple
Okay.
times. So
Mhm.
I think I need to do that. And then I'll have to see. I'll perhaps update people on Twitter or something or on another podcast. But that right now is unavailable to me. But otherwise, when that does work, the highway assistance is quite nice. It keeps you in the lanes without ping ponging. It also lets you adjust in lane, and it does great speed gauging and whatever else it's supposed to do. It does that pretty well.
It steers and it does
Yeah.
cruise control, dynamic cruise
Yep.
control, basically.
Exactly.
So, yeah, just tell me a bit more about just driving it, like, or like, oh yeah, I know what I wanted to ask. So, how do you do a hard reset on a VF8?
Oh, great. So the volume knob and the on off for the radio is right here to your right. Your right
Okay.
hand can just go next to your hip and you can adjust that. So when we did it, we held that for like 45 seconds or something, and the car will like shut off. You'll see the VinFast logo and it'll start up again. So that's how you do it. I haven't done
Okay.
it in a while, so hopefully that hasn't changed or anything. But I
Uh,
also am really not sure how many software updates have happened. I haven't gotten any notifications or anything like that. So I think I would just have to check which software was, if I have that information, the original and what I have
right.
now.
Have you gotten any over-the-air updates?
As far as I know, I don't know. I have not
Oh,
been told by the car or
right.
anything that it has
I feel
happened.
like if you did, the car would probably need to tell you that, right? I mean, it doesn't in Tesla. It's like a whole, a whole thing, a whole production,
Yeah.
basically.
Yes.
You kind of cannot miss that. Your car's been when you get into it. Well, after you have to press the update button. It tells you there's an update, and then you have to actually yourself, tell it to install it. But then when it's done, you get back in the car, and it's like the screen, has the new release notes and all that kind of stuff. So I guess
Cool.
yours hasn't done that. Your VinFast hasn't done that.
Not yet, and I'll look at the app later and see what information
Okay.
I can have. Speaking of the app is not it's not like the Tesla app. So if you are familiar with that at all, it can tell me where the car is, if the climate's running. It can like pet mode and camp mode
You have pet mode
if
and camp
those are
mode?
on. Yeah, I have pet mode and camp mode, which
Wow.
other EVs don't have, and I'm really psyched for that because I love to car camp and I have a dog. So
Right.
to be able to keep the air running seems pretty. It just seems like a no-brainer to me with an EV, especially. You're not idling, you're
Right.
just using AC. And someone even made a point where it's like, even if I leave my groceries in the car on a hot summer day, I don't want to come back and have it all melted. So I was like, oh,
Right.
that's a good point. Yeah.
I used it yesterday. Well, yeah, because I have a Tesla, so I can keep. I can use dog mode actually, or I could just put keep, and then it'll keep
Keep.
the air conditioning on while I'm out of the car.
That's
Basically,
nice.
yeah. And so I brought my guitar with me somewhere, and yes, I just kept it cool so that it doesn't get too hot in the car because instruments are sensitive to that kind of heat that you can
Yes.
get in the car in the summer. It's like in the 90s here already, so
Oh, yeah. It's getting hot. It's getting hot
yeah,
for sure. That's important.
yeah,
And I also just wanted to mention like the range and efficiency of this
yeah,
because I
yeah.
did
Let's talk
mention
about
that we
that.
drove it alongside, yeah, the Model Y, which so we were comparing it, but on the 800-mile road trip, I think it was about 2.5 uh, miles per kilowatt hour. I think that was it, or is it reverse kilowatt hours
No,
per
that's
mile?
miles
Okay,
per kilowatt hours. Yeah, if it's the other way,
that's like
it's you're driving the
it would make
Hummer.
sense the other way. Yeah. So it was about that, which was similar to the Model Y actually. So that was interesting. But the battery is, I think, 10% smaller on the Model Y. So that also
Okay,
gives you some insight there. And it is
right,
like 1,000 pounds heavier than the Model Y. So
right,
it's I think when you're along a road trip when there's not a lot of like when you pull off, there's not always a charger where you are versus when you pull off anywhere, there's a gas station.
hmm
So we would have to pick and choose like which chargers we're going to go to. If we could stretch it, we would stretch it. But sometimes you have to stop shorter than maybe you'd like to because you have to get enough charge to go to the charger that's further away. But the longest that we got to go on one charge, and I still had maybe like 13% left, was 180 miles. So we haven't done the out of spec 70 miles an hour range test that we're going to do this summer yet on the VinFast and also all the other testing really. But I don't know. It makes me think that maybe it could get decently over 200 miles, but we're going to have to see. Not
Do you
really
know
sure.
offhand? You know offhand how big the battery is in that?
Yes, if I remember correctly, um, yeah, we're both Googling as quickly as we can. Oh, it's like 88 or something.
Yeah, that's why I see 87.7. Let's
Yeah,
yeah,
87.7. Yes, exactly.
which is
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty big. So, but you don't think 87.7 in a car that size? Yeah, I'm thinking it should. You'd like to see it get like 250.
You never know. Yeah. So we'll charge it 0 to 100% and run it at 70 miles an hour until it is empty and see what happens. And
Right.
I'm really looking forward to that.
What's your guess?
If I had to put in a number,
Yeah.
you think it would be 250?
Well, no, I think that would be a good result. 250 would
That
be,
would be a great result. I'm going to
a
say
pretty good result.
217 miles. And I think that that's just what I'm going to say.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think?
That's fair. let's see. Man, the VF8 has an EPA rated range of 264 miles for the Eco trim. You have the Eco trim, right?
We have the Eco trim, which has the more efficient wheels and
Okay.
whatever else makes it eco.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think if you get 240, you're doing pretty good, I think. With
That would be
260.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love your optimism here, Dominic.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I need to do that with my own car. I've never done my 70-mile-an-hour highway range test. I've driven
Come
a
on
lot
out.
on. I've road trips that like I don't know 8,000 miles. I'm not sure. Quite a bit.
Yeah,
Quite a bit. I figure
just
it's
your
like 220, 230. It's not. It's got 19-inch wheels on it, and it's
okay.
like the smaller battery from it's the 2018. So it's
Interesting.
yeah. It's not super. If I put 200, if I put 18-inch tires on it, um, maybe I don't know. It says
We'll have to
It
see.
says 291 when I charge it to 100%. Like it's not getting me to 291 miles. But anyway, we're here to talk about your car, and not mine. Um,
No.
so let's see. So so you have this is just the first 5 months. So you still got 2.5 more years with this thing, but you have big plans for it for this summer, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited about the summer plans. It is warming up, and I am going to drive it I think it's about 1,000 miles out to Colorado and hang out there for about a month. Camp out there. It's great to camp in Colorado
Hmm.
and hang out around there, do the testing, of course. And so I'm going to build out a little bit of just a primitive car camping situation, which will be fun. So I'll try to I'll document that, and then also Jordan and I are excited to go camping and like test the camp features, maybe
Hmm.
in comparison to another EV. So I'm excited about that. Of course, I love road trips too. This will be the longest road trip in the EV, and I will be probably just doing it with me and my dog. So no Jordan alongside me just in case something happens, but
Right.
hopefully nothing does. Is everyone near wood? Just knock on it for me right there.
Right.
And then I'll drive it back down here, and then I love to explore. I love to do road trips. So then hopefully I'll go out to the East Coast, but that is far beyond anything I've planned out so far. But I'm going to be out in Colorado. That's what I'm really excited about. I'm going to be with the team, and yeah, really just be testing anything. We kind of asked on the Out of Spec podcast what people might want to see. People were like towing, see what it can tow. I'm like, all right, we're going to have to get a hitch on this thing. And what else did they say? I don't know, just to, of course, the 10% challenge and
Right.
the 70-mile-an-hour range test that we're going to do. So if y'all listeners here over on the Batteries Included podcast have anything you're curious about, let us know so I can keep noting these to mention in the future when we
Okay.
keep doing VinFast updates.
Right on. So really quickly, I just want a couple of things before we wind this up. So just like reliability wise, because that's one of the things that I think a lot of people would have in their mind if they wanted to buy or lease a VF8 themselves. Um, Reliability is a big deal, especially if a new vehicle. If you have reliability questions when a vehicle is like brand new, and
Yeah.
also service, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so
Great
yeah, let's
question.
touch really quickly about reliability and service. So far, it's never let you down completely, right?
It's never let me down completely. It's done things that have stunted the process of getting in the car and going. For instance, my dad got in it, and he's been driving Tesla since 2018, and the way that you change gears in this car, they're buttons down the
Right.
middle. And
Hmm.
so he was like park, reverse, neutral, drive, like press them all quite in. I think he might have pressed the wrong one and then tried to press the right one, and the car just like was like "Meow," and kind of froze. So he had to
Right.
get out. You like lock the car because then it like closes up its side mirrors, and maybe it like takes a little rest, and then you wake it back up again. And then he was able to do it. And then the last time I got in it, there's now the parking brake usually would take itself off once you put it into drive. It now can't do that. But when I got back in it after being away for a little bit, and that error came up and it wouldn't take it out, I was trying to do it manually, which is pretty easy. There's just a little button lever, but it wouldn't take it out. So I had to get out of the car, lock it, get back in, let it wake up again, and then it worked. But so there are some things that are definitely not ideal. And they do like slow it. Like that literally slowed me being able to get in the car and just drive away. But once you solve it, it typically doesn't seem to happen again. So in terms of like side of the road stopping, that has never happened at all. Like once this car is on, I'm honestly not sure that it turns off. I was walking by earlier today, just by my car, like walking to go around the neighborhood, and my phone connected to the Bluetooth within the VinFast that I was not unlocking. It has been off since yesterday. So, I mean, these are weird, quirky things, but they don't really seem to damage the integrity of the car. That being said, unless you find like an amazing deal, then you're willing to embrace this perhaps unexpected, curious lifestyle with this EV, I would not buy it. I would lease it if you want to. My dad was like, this could be great for, if you want to give your kids something, if they're in high school and they're getting their licenses and they need to shuttle each other around, something like that. But I think it is still definitely in the works. The comments on the videos that we put out are like, VinFast is watching, so hopefully they'll take in your consideration. So it's like, okay, well, we're living the long-term Leaf lifestyle with the VinFast, and I don't have any reason to expect that it won't work along my journeys this summer. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And everyone send very good VinFast vibes.
If it did break down, did stop, what's the procedure for getting it fixed?
I haven't had to do this, but I'm pretty sure it would just be VinFast using their contractors to tow it somewhere. But I'm not really sure that there's not that many service centers. And last time I checked, the closest one was in Kentucky. But it's perhaps that they would send someone to me that could help me. But when I first got it, it was like, okay, well, I'll probably need to be able to take it back to where I got it in North Carolina, which would definitely be so if I'm looking right now, I actually have a map. You can go on VinFast and see the service center. So I see that there are some in California, like up by San Fran, down by San Diego, one in Wichita, Kansas. Okay. So maybe I've been thinking Kansas instead of Kentucky. North Carolina, there's many down in Florida for some reason, and there's some in Dallas, Texas. So on my way to Denver, if anything happens, it better happen close to Wichita.
Right.
But I guess I just call their helpline and they would help. I know that I have emailed them for some glitches that were happening in the beginning, and they were very responsive and got those fixed. And the people in North Carolina at the dealership were really helpful to like help me troubleshoot in the car. But yeah, if anything like that happens, there's no service center near me or in any of the states that really border me.
Right. So overall, you wouldn't recommend this as a buy for most people. Really, not with this kind of reliability. It's not. You really expect a lot more from like a brand new vehicle in 2024, and even now, that's like your lease was what, $250 a month.
I mean it's a pretty affordable lease, and other people were in there because they were like, I've never even heard of this company. I've never driven an EV, but this lease, like, why not? So if you create this kind of value, I see why people would go for it and embrace it, and especially if they lived near that dealership, like there's way less risk, I think. And if anything happens, hopefully they would take it back from you and give you your money back. But I don't think you should buy this car. But I don't necessarily think leasing an EV is bad. Of course, read the fine print and make sure that it makes sense to you financially and like with your long-term plans and what you want. But I think leasing could be a good option, especially if you're curious about VinFast. But I don't think this kind of lease deal still exists as far as I know.
Right. And other automakers have very competitive lease deals. In the last few months, there's like, you can, like the Toyota BZ4X, it's a bit of a flawed vehicle in other ways, not really reliability wise so much. It's just, it's a slow charger like the VinFast, or maybe not quite as slow as the VinFast, but it's pretty slow. And it's got the other quirk where you couldn't charge it more than twice, I think, in a 24-hour period or something like that.
Silly.
It's weirdness like that. Anyway, but there's some lease deals on those that are even better than what you're seeing there in some places at least. Yeah.
I'm seeing now that VinFast is offering, they say MSRP for the Eco starting at $46,000. That seems lower than what they stated with mine. And it's $299 a month for 36 months with a down payment of $3,200 with 10,000 miles a year. So, they still have a competitive offer, but like you're saying, a lot of EV auto manufacturers are making really competitive lease deals, and for
Yeah.
cars that are a bit more tried and true, maybe have a bit more of a larger footprint of the automaker service centers, whatever it is, showrooms across the country. So I do think there's a lot to be considered, really, in what kind of
Right.
person, like what kind of risk you want to take on, not only financially, but like the car that you are driving around. So yeah, I mean, not real risk, but like, do you want to think about the
Right.
car that you're driving, or do you just want to like be a part of you?
Right. I mean, I think it's kind of an interesting situation that you're in because, it's not one that maybe you would be comfortable jumping into normally, but just because the special circumstances around your job, you're kind of on this like adventure that not a whole lot of people, get a chance to take part in. And it's kind of, I don't know. I think there's something cool about that.
I do too. That's a great point. Thanks for putting it into perspective, Dominic. And I think that's why people are, they want to hear more about me. So I'm going to do better updates for living with the VinFast. But yeah, you're right. I don't know how many. I think I do know some people who have bought a VinFast, but I don't think I would have embraced this if it weren't for Out of Spec. So thanks,
Right.
Kyle and company, for this opportunity to live with the VinFast for 3 years. It's just starting, Dominic. It's just the beginning.
Right. Yeah, it is, and VinFast is just kind of starting in the U.S. as well. They'll be bringing other products over here eventually, and hopefully improving so we don't. I like maybe it's because they took me to Vietnam for the first time. So maybe I'm biased. Maybe that's instilled some sort of bias in me. But I'm like really
you over there.
I'm really rooting for them though. And it's like sad to see the kind of like this initial fail. Really.
Yeah. I also wanted to note, because people always bring it up, that there's some investigations into the safety features of the car and stuff. But as far as I know, I don't think those are widespread across. But I'm still waiting for the results of like the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration to look into a bit of some investigations. But we really don't have any answers. I haven't seen anything similar to what they're investigating in my vehicle. But yeah, I think you're invested in them. We don't like to see cool ideas fail, really. Like, it's not great to see what's happening to Fisker, and stuff like that. So it's great when we see automakers making a really cool product, like, to succeed. I don't necessarily think VinFast is quite there making like the coolest product ever, but it's kind of just in the middle as long as it works.
They do have a pretty cool bicycle. Did you see that?
Yeah, they wouldn't let me buy it. It was not for sale,
really?
but it was in the delership. Yeah, I got a photo. I was sitting on it.
Nice. Yeah, I was just looking at it the other night, and I was talking to. I think I left a message on the on a PR person's page somewhere that I'm waiting for the media drive for the. I think they call it the Dragonfly. It's like a Super 73 looking knockoff, but it's got like really good stats, like 28 miles an hour off road, which is fast for an e-bike.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, maybe you should go to some of those showrooms in Florida and see if they have it.
Maybe I should. Actually, that's a great idea. I'll get in touch with him and see if that's an option.
Yeah.
All right. But for now, I think we should probably bring this to an end. So I'd like to thank you for hanging out with me for a while, Francie. I really appreciate it. And so what's the best way for people to keep up with you and your VinFast VF8?
Definitely go and, add Out of Spec Podcast to your lineup of podcasts you listen to, or subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also go on what is formerly known as Twitter and follow me at hey_Francie. And that's the best way, I think. And, leave comments or, tweet me about what you're curious about, and we'll keep you up to date. Thanks, Dominic. And thanks for having me on. Great to see you and talk to you about the VinFast.
My pleasure. You're the best. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and get in touch with us on the social media platform of your choice. Click subscribe, tap that bell icon for notifications. Thank you all very much for joining us, and we'll see you again very soon. Ciao.
Bye.